In 1955, Alcoholics Anonymous had a staggering success rate for newcomers remaining sober for 1 year of about 75%. Today, AA is having trouble keeping that number above 5%. So what exactly happened? Why this cataclysmic descent of success rates? Why the failure? Could this descent have anything to do with the explosion of treatment centers and other forms of recovery onto the scene? Could it be the internet? What about modern day science? I believe not, as treatment centers, technology, the internet, science can go hand in hand with AA to offer great recovery to someone who struggles with alcoholism. And AA cannot blame or bring anything external into the spotlight as its issues, as that would go against its very own traditions. Somewhere along the way, the solution to our problem of alcoholism became diluted with a bunch of nonsense that, while it seems like it makes sense, only hurts people trying to maintain a healthy sobriety. If you're someone in Alcoholics Anonymous or any other 12-step group who isn't having the success you hoped for, or you're thinking about giving Alcoholics Anonymous a try or a retry, I invite you to take in this video to learn the undiluted truth about Alcoholics Anonymous, so you can recover the way you were meant to through AA, so you can live a life without the desire to drink or use. Let's go over what made AA so successful in the past and how you can have that success today. Have you heard of the first 100? They were the first 100 men and women who recovered from alcoholism using the method that would become Alcoholics Anonymous. They took what they knew, what they had experienced, and wrote it down in a book, so that when alcoholics who wanted to achieve what they had could follow clear-cut instructions to get it exactly the way they did. They had to write it in a book because they understood human nature. They knew that if they continued only sharing the message of recovery through word of mouth alone, that the true message of recovery would get lost over time. This book became the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It was their doctrine. It became the 12-step program we know today. It was what solved the problem alcoholics have. Well, it's what gave us the path to solving it. Over time, the fellowship grew, and a lot in the fellowship experienced something new, the power of numbers. They had great strength of fellowship, and this strength alone was enough for a lot of people to stay sober. The first 100 never had this power of fellowship. They had to rely on the principles that made the big book. Over time, as AA grew, people started running on fellowship power alone and started picking and choosing from the book, instead of following the clear-cut instructions from the book. Over time, Alcoholics Anonymous became diluted. Over time, we heard less and less about the spiritual principles of the book and the book's purpose, and rather more about the practice of fellowship and attending meetings, incorrect sponsorship, and other forms of human dependence. Although a lot of members stayed sober through fellowship alone, a lot suffered, never being able to recover in the way that the original 100 had intended because of this dilution of the solution and mixed and completely wrong messages.
Work 4 nights a week, in between I drink.
The meetings are not what's going to fix the problem. It's the work we do. People with long-term sobriety who are losing their sobriety, proving positive that just going to meetings doesn't solve the problem.
Alcoholics suffer a threefold disease: one of the mind, one of the body, and one of the spirit. Step 1 of the program reveals this to us. The body meaning the physical allergy to alcohol, that once we start, we crave and we do not stop, no matter how hard we try or how hard we plan not to. This is what it means to be powerless. This is why alcoholics cannot simply have just one drink. The disease of the mind means we obsess over our next drink. We fixate on it. This is the unmanageability part of our lives. We cannot manage our life because alcohol dominates it. We keep going back to it. Now let's talk about the third part, the spiritual part of our condition, the most important part. Because if you heal the spiritual part, the mental and physical parts have no place to stand. Heal the spiritual sickness, and we lose the desire to drink. We lose the mental obsession, the fixation, the unmanageability. Alcohol no longer has a purpose in our lives when our spirit is healed. We lose the insanity that is going back to the drink. This spiritual sickness we have is also called the spiritual malady, or a malady of the spirit. This malady keeps us restless, irritable, and discontent in one or many ways of our life. Note, you can be stone cold sober and suffer greatly from the spiritual malady. If you're sober and your life, not just your sobriety, seems like it's not all that it's supposed to be, then you probably suffer from the spiritual malady. This malady keeps us spiritually unfit and self-centered. The solution to healing this spiritual malady is what the first 100 discovered and wrote a book about, the 12-step program. The 12-step program is the tool used to heal the malady and become connected to a power greater than ourselves. The solution to alcoholism is to become spiritually fit through the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you've gone to a modern-day AA meeting, you've surely heard chants, slogans, instructions such as, keep coming back, meeting makers make it, 90 meetings in 90 days, get a sponsor, get a home group, do these things or else you'll drink, among many others. It seems as if these are the messages modern-day AA is all about spreading. The first 100 never had these things. They never needed them. They had what is in the big book, the 12-step program, which was and is still the tool or the vehicle used to unblock yourself from the malady of your spirit, which is what keeps those suffering from alcoholism sick, whether sober or not. The fellowship today has people sponsoring others while they've never done the step work themselves. The fellowship today has become a kind of human support group, where as long as you're sober, that's all that matters, regardless of the quality of your life. Whereas Alcoholics Anonymous used to be a life-changing awakening, which removed the sickness we had by removing our human dependencies. It removed the disease of the spirit, the malady of the spirit, the spiritual malady. How often do modern-day AA meetings discuss the spiritual malady? Very rarely. Many meetings have become depressing and never offer the solution to newcomers who are dying for a way out of their alcoholism. AA today often makes it worse for newcomers by creating more human dependencies. This video got into a lot of stuff that doesn't actually matter in terms of recovery in AA. The first 100 wrote down all that is needed for alcoholics to recover today. There are so many messages that have nothing to do with the original program of recovery. These messages dilute the truth. The good thing though, the state of Alcoholics Anonymous, with its internal issues, low success rates, wrong messages, have no bearing on whether or not someone can recover today. Because we know anyone can, if they do what is required of them, if they're willing to, if they're able to keep an open mind, and if they're capable of being honest with themselves. The first 100 knew this, and they put it all in a book, this book.
Because we don't get better when we just don't drink one stupid day at a time. We get better when we have a spiritual experience and the obsession to use is lifted from us.
The show goes on!
Every time you relapse, we're going to find out what happened, what triggered you. You know what happened? You didn't work the steps and have a spiritual experience. That's what happened. We just make this so freaking complicated that half the people out there just lose interest before they're halfway through.
I hope you enjoyed part 1 of this 2-part video series. Part 2 is going to be all about the 12 steps. We're going to be diving deep into them. The 12 steps are designed to disconnect us from the spiritual malady that we have and get us off all the human dependencies that have kept us sick. Please like this video and please comment. Tell me what you think of the video. Tell me what you think of AA. Tell me whatever you think. It really helps the YouTube algorithm, become aware of this video. I want to spread it to as many people as possible. Happy recoveries.